The world would come to call him a machine, a swimmer built for perfection. To the world, he seemed unstoppable, indestructible. To most, that was all he ever was. Unstoppable, unbreakable. But every machine has a breaking point. Behind the goggles, behind the medals, lived another Michael. Fragile, searching, sometimes drowning in shadows no camera could see. This is the story of both Michaels. The machine who became the greatest Olympian of all time, and the man who nearly didn't survive his own greatness. It begins where the world first took notice. The year 2000, in Sydney. He was 15, barely old enough to drive. The youngest male swimmer to represent the United States in nearly 70 years. In Sydney, Michael Phelps was still a boy, braces on his teeth, arms and legs that seemed to stretch ahead of his confidence. But in the pool, he was something else. His specialty was the 200-meter butterfly. In a field of champions, the teenager surged. He didn't win, he didn't medal, but he finished 5th in the final.
It was a lot to handle, I will say. It was my first international meet, my first time out of the country, and my first real big international competition. I mean, it was an experience, I guess you could say. As a 15-year-old, it was sort of just, I jumped right in. I was sort of just getting my feet wet. I didn't know what to expect, and going to Sydney, of all places, Australia, where swimming is the #1 sport, was huge, and it was extremely exciting for me. It was a good experience to get under the belt so young, so I sort of have an idea of what it's going to be like.
Sydney was not about medals. It was about the spark. But less than a year later, in 2001, that promise exploded.
Phelps, take your marks.
In the same event, the 200-meter butterfly, Phelps didn't just win. He broke the world record.
Look at Phelps go. Phelps, Malchow coming at him. Esposito coming as well. But it is Phelps of the United States, this 16-year-old.
I think everyone dreams about breaking the world record every single time they get in the pool, but more than likely it's not going to happen.
The 16-year-old heading for a gold medal. Malchow, but it's all Phelps. Phelps wins the gold medal. And a world record.
But I mean, last year it was a great year for me. A lot happened. So it really meant that everything in the training went well. So I mean, as long as training goes well, I think I'll be happy by the end of the year.
15 years old and already rewriting history. Sydney had been the introduction. This was the arrival.
You seem really laid back and down to earth about this whole thing. You know, everyone's like, Michael Phelps, Michael Phelps. How do you keep your feet on the ground?
I don't know, it's sort of my everyday life. I mean, coming to the pool and swimming, it's something that I love to do. And I mean, I sleep and play video games and play around online. I live a fairly laid-back life, so I don't think I should be all hyped up or anything else.
4 years later, Athens would be his proving ground. But first, to understand how this boy became unstoppable, you have to look at how the machine was made. Michael Fred Phelps II was born in 1985, the youngest of 3. From the beginning, he was different. Too much energy, too little focus. By 9, diagnosed with ADHD. Teachers doubted he would ever sit long enough to succeed. That same year, his parents divorced. His father drifted away. Michael grew quiet, withdrawn. But energy doesn't disappear. It finds an outlet. His outlet was water. At first, he hated it, hated putting his face under. But in time, he discovered that in the pool, there was silence, rhythm, control.
I started swimming because my mother wanted us to be water safe. That we wanted to be water. She wanted us to to feel comfortable and confident that if we were ever in a situation at a pool or at the beach or at a lake or something, we were fine and we were going to be able to swim. And that happened, and then we started getting involved in the sport. And my sisters and I have all had amazing careers in the sport, and we've learned so much. So I want to get more people involved and definitely get younger kids water safe. So if they are put in a certain situation, that they're going to be able to survive.
By 10, he was breaking national age group records.
I don't think you can point to any one thing that makes him great, but he has the physical tools, he has the right body shape, he had a family that understood swimming on a high level and supported his efforts. He happened to swim for a club that had a history of producing Olympic gold medalists. All those things sort of came together, and I think there's a combination of factors.
By 11, he was under the watch of Bob Bowman, a coach as meticulous as a scientist, as relentless as a drill sergeant. Bowman didn't just train Michael, he engineered him. Every stroke measured, every session calculated.
We're very close. I think a good swimmer-coach relationship is needed once you get to a higher level in the sport. And definitely ours is extremely high, and we're extremely close and friends. It's like I said, it's something you need. So I've been very fortunate to have him as a coach. One thing I like about swimming is you actually really have to work to accomplish something. You can't go an average person couldn't just jump in and say, I want to do this in swimming. I want to break a world record in swimming. Something you have to actually work towards.
Phelps trained on Christmas Day. He trained sick. He trained until his body screamed. And then he trained again.
Trained 7 days a week, while we train on Christmas, while we train on Thanksgiving, 365 days a year. Sort of gives you that extra day of training that no one else has. There aren't many clubs that train 7 days a week, so it gives you one extra training session every single week where you can pick something up. So, if I'm getting 52 more practices than everybody else is, that's kind of make that little or big difference in the end.
Michael was always a very superior athlete, and I think had physical skills and was also extremely competitive as a young age. It was very obvious to see that he would be a special swimmer. He does things which I'm quite sure I'll never see again, so I try to enjoy what he's doing, and challenging him is a challenge in itself because he can handle virtually anything you throw at him, so I have to stay on my toes to keep him going.
I really just sort of stay focused on my goals is sort of the biggest thing for me right now. Just sort of stay relaxed and do what I'm here to do is the #1 thing.
But Bowman wasn't working with just anybody. Michael had been gifted an extraordinary blueprint. His frame, 6'4", 194 pounds at his competitive peak. Tall but balanced, with a torso proportionally longer than his legs, giving him the leverage of someone closer to 6'8". His arms, a 6'7" wingspan, longer than his height, the reach of a predator designed to sweep more water with every stroke. His legs, slightly shorter for his height, reducing drag. His size 14 feet, paired with hyper-flexible ankles bent like fins, transforming his kicks into a natural propeller. His lungs are capable of holding nearly 12 liters of oxygen, double the average man's. His body recovered from lactic acid faster than most elite athletes. This wasn't just strength. It was efficiency. A design as if sketched by Da Vinci himself. The perfect aquatic machine. And behind that body was a restless, obsessive mind, sharpened by Bob Bowman's merciless program. Together, they built not just a champion, but a weapon.
Because he swims so many events and because he's so young, I think he just has a lot to look forward to after this year. Just physiologically, he'll become stronger. Mentally, he'll grow and become more mature. He can decide to pursue any number of different events than he's training now. So I think the future is bright for him and the options are open.
I think things are going better now than they were at the end of 2003. December was sort of rocky in the pool, practice-wise. But I mean, I think right now some things that are going on there are definitely improving, and I mean, we're just about 6 months out now. So I mean, I think just sort of staying focused and staying really fired up, I think is the biggest thing right now. So coming back with 1 gold medal, I'll be completely happy. I mean, a lot of people say right now, if I come back with 5 gold medals, it's going to be a disaster. No, it won't. 1 gold medal is all I want.
Athens, the birthplace of the Games. In 2004, it became the stage for a 19-year-old from Baltimore to arrive as something more than a swimmer.
I came back from Sydney with nothing, so really going to Athens and getting something is the goal. You're a more recognizable, notable person with the gold medal. So 1 gold medal is my goal, and whatever happens after that happens. So I mean, I think you really just have to worry about yourself, and once you get there, just get in and race and do what you can. But you can't really control what other people do. You can only control what you do yourself. If I do good enough in the pool, training-wise, then there's no way I'll be disappointed in the meet.
520's your goal, Dominic. You got to kick 120, 100. That's the minimum.
Day by day, you get more and more excited. I mean, the closer you get, it's sort of like another opportunity. I mean, it's kind of hard to wait 4 years. So you sort of hope to be ready July 7th. So that's really what I'm just aiming for. I mean, I think just the whole Olympic atmosphere is going to be it's just going to be exciting, and I really can't wait for it. I want it to happen today.
Michael Phelps had already swum in Sydney, a boy among men. Now he was the storm they had feared was coming. Expectations followed him to the blocks. Comparisons to Mark Spitz. Headlines declaring him the next great American icon.
Among the favorites is 17-year-old schoolboy Mark Spitz of Santa Clara, California, who shares the world record in this event.
Today, in swimming, a lot of people focus on one event. You know, they're dominant in one event. So I mean, you would never know. I mean, swimming back in the 70s was so much different than it is today. I mean, we have fast skins and the technology has grown. So I think there's a lot of, I guess, openings. I don't know who would be the best now.
The question wasn't whether he would win, but how much he would win by. And he delivered. 6 gold medals, 2 bronze, 8 podiums in a single Games, a feat only Spitz had matched. The butterfly, the freestyle, the medleys, each race another reminder that the swimming world now belonged to him. They named him the Baltimore Bullet. NBC called him the face of the Games. Sports writers called him the best athlete alive. But even in triumph, shadows surfaced. Already, the machine was demanding perfection. Already, the weight of superhuman expectation had settled on his shoulders. Athens was a coronation, but for Michael, it was also a sentence. From this point forward, winning alone would never be enough. Greatness rarely announces its cost in the beginning. It hides in the shadows, waiting. For Michael Phelps, the cracks were there before the glory, minor fractures beneath a perfect surface. After Athens, he was no longer the prodigy. He was the chosen one. Headlines asked not if he would dominate, but how. Expectations calcified into prophecy. By Beijing, the question wasn't whether he'd win gold. It was whether he would achieve the impossible. Bowman once called him a savage competitor. What he didn't say was that the line between obsession and destruction was razor thin. Michael lived on that line. He hated losing with such ferocity that even in practice, coming in second could unravel him. Teammates recall slamming fists on the water, eyes blazing. He was chasing ghosts, not just opponents, but his own reflection. And outside the pool, the shadows crept closer. At 19, fresh off Olympic stardom, Phelps was arrested for driving under the influence. He called it a youthful mistake. The world forgave him, but the first crack was visible. His body, too, whispered warnings. Endless laps carved him into a machine, but machines wear down. His shoulders throbbed under strain. His knees stiffened from the grind. In public, he smiled for the cameras. In private, he iced, taped, and endured. Then came the attention. Cameras trailed his every move. Reporters dissected his training like scripture, comparing him to Mark Spitz, the 7-gold legend. Could Phelps go one better? Could he claim 8? The stakes escalated beyond sport, beyond reason.
After winning 6 gold medals in Athens, Michael Phelps is looking to make history here in Beijing, competing in 5 individual events and 3 relays.
He was 23, but his world was already stripped of balance. Friends said he lived in 2 realities: the pool, where he was a god, and everywhere else, where he seemed restless and searching. He admitted years later he wasn't swimming for joy anymore. He was swimming because he had to, because without swimming, without the grind, he didn't know who he was.
Monstered by media and fans alike worldwide, America's Michael Phelps needs 4 more golds from Beijing to be the most successful Olympian ever.
You know, it's hard to really put it into words. You know, just so much hard work has gone into it, and you know, so much help from friends, family, supporters, and it's just one big, just sort of emotional scene of time. And like I guess in Sydney, I was sort of the one that, you know, always was given a hard time, and I was the young one. So now it's sort of time to play that back on all the younger guys.
The stage was set. The world was waiting. Beijing would either crown him immortal or expose the fragility beneath the myth. The world had been waiting. Michael Phelps arrived in Beijing not as a swimmer, not even as an Olympian, but as an idea, the idea of perfection. Mark Spitz had set the bar in 1972, 7 gold medals, an untouchable record, frozen in Olympic lore. Now, every headline, every broadcast, every whisper carried the same question: could Phelps do the unthinkable? 8?
Whatever you dream of, you can really do. You can't set a limit on what you can and cannot do, because if you do, then that's where your limit's going to end. So, you know, I mean, for me, it's literally the sky is the limit. And I mean, what really, you know, I have some pretty lofty dreams in my head, and you know, those dreams are gonna stay there. You know, those goals are gonna stay there until they're accomplished. And then, you know, I know it's not gonna be easy getting there, and I know that, yeah, there are gonna be some bumps in the road here and there, but everybody has bumps in the road, and it really just depends on how you get over those and you know, make sure it doesn't happen again.
In the weeks leading up to the Games, Phelps trained in near isolation, sharpening himself to a point of obsession. The machine was ready, but machines can break, and Beijing would test every seam. The first race, the 400-meter individual medley. Phelps didn't just win, he obliterated the world record. Gold won. The prophecy had begun. Then came the 4x100 freestyle relay. The Americans were underdogs, but on the anchor leg, Lizak touched first. Gold, too. The dream was still alive. One by one, the races fell. The 200-meter freestyle, his so-called weak event, conquered with another world record. The 200-meter butterfly. His goggles filled with water mid-race, blinding him. He counted strokes, swam blind, and still touched first. Gold 4. By midweek, the world was no longer asking if. They were counting with him. 5, 6, 7. Each medal came with its own story. And then, the 8th. The 100-meter butterfly. The showdown. Phelps trailed nearly the entire race. At the final stroke, Kavik stretched long. Phelps lunged again, half blind, half desperate, and touched the wall first by 1/100th of a second, the narrowest margin possible. Phelps had done it. 8 gold medals, 8 victories, 7 world records, 1 Olympic record. Perfection achieved.
Just in case one or two of us out there don't know, the most gold medals ever won beforehand was 9. Michael now has 5 more than that at 14.
They clearly all mean the world to me. They all mean so much to, you know, everything that I've gone sort of had in my life, and you know, I think that the relay medals are pretty special, you know, because it's not just you swimming there. You know, it's 4 guys, so you have to, you all have to work together.
The world crowned him immortal. He had transcended swimming. He had transcended sport. He was now a myth written in real time. But here is the part the cameras did not see, even as history was made. Phelps himself felt strangely hollow. The applause thundered, but the silence inside him only deepened. For Beijing was not just the making of a legend, it was the beginning of the unraveling. The world called him invincible, but beneath the medals, beneath the roar of history, something had shifted. The pool that once felt like home felt empty. The fire that had driven him since childhood flickered. Then came the photo. A pipe. In February 2009, USA Swimming suspended him for 3 months. Sponsors vanished. The Golden Boy was suddenly human, fallible, flawed. By May 2009, the questions began to gnaw. Could he go on? Another 4 years of grueling training. Another 4 years under the microscope. Another 4 years of expectations that he could not escape. The joy was gone. Even in the water, every stroke felt measured, every lap a reminder of what he had sacrificed. For the first time, Michael Phelps wondered if it was time to step away.
It's shown, to me, it's shown who my real friends are, but it's also, given me a lot of time to really think. Since pretty much Beijing ended, I haven't really thought about what I want to do, if I do want to go another 4 years. There were times where, I'd sit down with a piece of paper and I'd, write the pros and cons of swimming and quitting and retiring. There were days where I'd come in and work out. If I came in just for warm-up, I'd get out after warm-up and just be like, well, I'm not really feeling today, I'll just go home.
Yeah.
Or if I want to swim slow, I'll swim slow. Like, if I didn't want to come, I wouldn't come. It was, if I'd wake up and be like, I don't feel like really going to work out, I'm just going to stay in bed or watch TV or hang out, I just wouldn't come in. Yeah, that random Sunday when I woke up and I have no idea what was, what changed from the night before, but something was back and I felt something in my heart that, I felt before Beijing, that I want to do this and I want to go another 4 years. I was like, what am I doing even thinking about, quitting or retiring? Like, I'm 23, like, I'm not retiring at 23. I have 4 more years left in my career, and there are still things that I want to accomplish. And ever since then, it's, we still have had a day or so here and there where I haven't been perfectly on, but for the most part, I mean, when I come in, it's, it's the old me, it's the normal me. Come in, work hard, take steps towards my goals. Paul is saying today is my first day off my suspension.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, from USA Swimming.
Yeah. All right, are we on the top? Do a good job. All the same stroke. Ready?
The suspension ended by summer, and Phelps returned to competition at the 2009 World Championships in Rome. He still dominated, winning 6 medals, 5 golds, but the 200-meter freestyle slipped through his fingers.
And away they go in the first final of the evening, the men's 200 metres freestyle involving Michael Phelps. Phelps is after him now. Biederman from Phelps. Look at the world record line. This is going to be a boil-over, a mighty boil-over. Biederman is going to beat Michael Phelps.
Germany's Paul Biederman shattered Phelps' world record. The aura of invincibility was gone, and what followed were years of grinding, uneven, exhausting training. By 2010 and 2011, the fire that had driven him since childhood had dulled. Sessions were missed. Motivation wavered. Outwardly, he remained a champion. Inwardly, the doubts of 2009 resurfaced with every early morning in the pool and every aching muscle. By the time London 2012 loomed, the cracks were impossible to hide. The struggle to reconcile talent, expectation, and personal desire had become a defining part of his journey. And yet, in that crucible of doubt and training, Phelps would have to find the focus to rise again.
The most important thing is we're going to be working on the small things, because that's really where it's going to come down to. There are going to be races that are going to be won or lost by, by me getting my feet over faster on a turn, or me hitting the wall on a full stroke. So I think those little small things and those small details, I think, are going to be something that are going to be very important that I need to work on more.
I mean, obviously, we always want to swim faster. I mean, that's the plan. That's the goal. Once you make the Olympic team, it's sort of, you try to go back to training and try to fine-tune some of the things that you did wrong at trials or you didn't do perfect at trials.
London, the Olympic stage once again. For most athletes, just reaching one Games is a lifetime dream. For Michael Phelps, this was his fourth. But this time, the fire was different. Beijing had been about perfection. London was about survival. Michael Phelps entered the Games already a legend. The man who had conquered Athens and rewritten history in Beijing. Now the world asked one question: could he do it again?
You guys are getting all of us.
These are the last, competitive moments that I will have in my career. So it's big, and I'm feeling confident. Everything feels good, and this is something I've been looking forward to for a while. And you guys are the ones that keep bringing the the medal count up. I've never once in my career said anything about medal counts. I'm here to swim as fast as I can, and if I do that, then that's all that matters.
The Games began with a stumble. In the 400-meter individual medley, Phelps finished fourth, missing the podium for the first time in an Olympic individual medley final. But champions don't disappear quietly. He clawed back, medal by medal. Gold in the 200-meter individual medley. Gold in the 100-meter butterfly. Relay victories in both the 4x100 medley and 4x200 freestyle, showcasing why he remained the standard in the water. When the water stilled, the tally was clear. Four golds, 2 silvers, 22 Olympic medals across his career, the most decorated Olympian in history. Yet, behind the triumph, the weight was visible. Beijing had been fire. London felt like duty. He was fulfilling obligations, not chasing dreams. The public saw victory. Inside, he felt hollow. When the Games ended, Phelps announced his retirement. At 27, the most decorated Olympian the world had ever seen was walking away. London was his crowning achievement, but it was also the beginning of a battle no medal could measure.
I think every step of my career has been something that is very meaningful. From making my first Olympic team in 2000 at 15 to where we are today here in London, or here finishing up in London. It's been a great career. It's been a great journey. Like I said, I can't be any more happy than I am.
I was afraid of the water at first. I didn't want to put my face under. I don't know, I just didn't like the feeling. And I finally built up the confidence to put my face under the water and to start swimming. And I finally fell in love with the sport. And the opportunities that I've been able to have from swimming have just been endless. I'm smiling, I'm happy. I am tired, so I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm having fun. And as long as I can say I'm having fun, I think that's all that matters. Every medal that I've been able to win and stand on the podium for has been something that's been very special, but that first Olympic one was just, I don't know, it was awesome. It's hard to put into words, but that was my favorite Olympic medal.
Retirement arrived with a silence Michael Phelps had never known. No alarms, no whistles, no cheering crowds. The water was still, but inside, a storm raged. The transition from the intensity of training and competition to the stillness of retirement left him adrift. He felt lost, empty, unsure who he was without swimming. The structure, the rhythm, the purpose that had defined his life since childhood, all gone.
I'm finished. 20 years in the sport, and it's been a great career. And for me, I've been able to look at, I've had time to be able to look back at everything that I've been able to accomplish, and I can actually say I've done everything I've ever wanted to. You know, I had the opportunity to come down to Rio a couple months ago and visit another pool just like this, and being able to spend time with kids is something that it does excite me, and you know, you can see the kids how they're excited and they're jumping up and down and smiling, and that's something that I mean, it's, for me, it's tough to put into feelings because that's how much it means to me. You know, being able to put a smile on someone's face, it's the greatest feeling in the world.
By late 2013, signs of restlessness began to appear. Quietly, Phelps re-entered the U.S. anti-doping program, a hint that maybe the story wasn't over. The comeback began quietly. In April 2014, Michael Phelps announced he would return to competition at the Arena Grand Prix in Mesa, Arizona, his first race since London. His coach, Bob Bowman, called it testing the waters. Not a complete comeback, just a question. Could he still find himself in the pool? The world took notice. Tickets sold out. Cameras crowded the deck. The greatest swimmer of all time was back in the water. His first test, the 100-meter butterfly. In the morning prelims, he glided to a 52.84, the fastest time of the session. In the final, he touched second behind Ryan Lochte in 52.13. It was the second fastest time in the world that year. A reminder, the machine was still in there. What mattered was not the medals, it was the spark, the grin on deck, the way he lingered at the wall, laughing with Lochte.
He talks about how he's having fun now and everything, and I think that can only help him. You know, relearning and rediscovering your love for the sport, you know, anything can happen.
For the first time in years, Michael Phelps looked like he was enjoying swimming again. Mesa was not about dominance. It was about rediscovery. A step out of the shadows, a breath above the surface. Proof that the man who had once conquered the world was still capable of racing, and, more importantly, still capable of hope. The machine had returned, but this time he was learning how to be more than a machine.
There was something that I missed, and you know, there's being able to be back in the pool and being able to just go to the pool and be back at North Baltimore and swim with the group that we have now. It's incredible, but I still am. I guess I really am the grandfather now of the group, so that's the worst part about it. I'm the old man.
He's really out of shape.
Sugar-coated at least.
So it took a while to get to a point where you think, okay, he could do this in public for somebody. And then after that was kind of by January, right? And then after that, it was, you know, I thought if he wanted to, he could, and he was doing well in practice. So it was a process. It is a process.
You know, I'm doing this because I want to come back, and I enjoy being in the pool, and I enjoy being in the sport of swimming. So I'm having fun what I'm doing, and I think Bob and I can do anything that we've put our mind that we put our mind to, and that's what we've done in the past. So I am looking forward to wherever this road takes me. As in terms of tarnishing my career, I said it before, I'm doing this for me. If I don't become as successful as you all think I would be or should be, and you think it tarnishes my career, then that's your own opinion.
But inside, depression crept in. At times, it was unbearable. In later interviews, he admitted that in his darkest hour, he contemplated suicide. The machine that had seemed indestructible in the pool now struggled with a fragility no camera had ever captured. Then, in September 2014, the fall became public.
New trouble for Olympic legend Michael Phelps.
Very busy news day. Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps.
Phelps.
The officer said Phelps was drunk and at one point was going way over the speed limit.
Pulled over in Baltimore for speeding. Phelps was arrested for driving under the influence. His blood alcohol level was nearly twice the legal limit. It was his second DUI. Headlines that once celebrated him now questioned him. USA Swimming suspended him for 6 months. Sponsors backed away.
Michael Phelps has just pled guilty to a drunk driving charge.
Phelps is in a 6-week treatment program this morning after his latest DUI arrest.
He was barred from competing in the 2015 World Championships. He could have denied, deflected, or hidden. Instead, for the first time, Michael Phelps stopped running. He checked into a 45-day rehab program in Arizona. And in therapy, long, uncomfortable sessions, he began confronting the shadows he had buried for years. Later, he would say it saved his life. It was the moment he realized he had become more than the medals, more than the machine. Publicly, he smiled. Privately, he fought to breathe above the currents of anxiety, emptiness, and self-doubt. For a man whose life had been measured in gold, the absence of medals left a void no podium could fill. But rock bottom, painful as it was, also offered something unexpected, a chance to rebuild. So he went back to work, harder, smarter. With Bob Bowman at his side, Phelps rebuilt his body and mind. He approached practice not as punishment, but as purpose. Therapy continued. So did the work of becoming a husband, a father-to-be, and, for the first time, a man who could see himself beyond the pool.
Being able to make my fifth is something that means a lot to me, and that I think, 20 years from now I'll be able to look and be happy with making that decision to come back.
By August 2016, Rio de Janeiro awaited his 5th Olympic Games.
It's been a hell of a long time since I've had a best time. I mean, I haven't shown a best time since 2009. So, I'd like to have maybe one before I retire.
The city shimmered in sunlight and samba rhythm. The streets alive with carnival colors, chants, and the roar of fans from across the globe.
As a kid, it's like, yeah, it'd be really sweet to be able to carry the flag. I mean, I never thought I'd make, I dreamt of making the Olympic team, and that happened in 2000, and it just kept getting better and better. And to be able, at my 5th Olympics, to have that honor to carry the flag is something that will be very special, that I'm looking forward to sharing with my family and friends afterwards.
The competition itself was a choreography of tension. In the 100-meter butterfly, the crowd held its collective breath. Phelps trailed slightly, then surged in the final strokes, fingers stretching for the wall. Silver. Behind that finish were months of relentless training. As Phelps led the 4x100-meter medley relay, the arena erupted. Every flip turn, every hand touching the wall, became part of a story larger than the sum of the races. When the final swimmer touched the wall, the team claimed gold. These were the seconds that reminded him why he had returned. For the love of the sport, for himself, for the life he had fought to reclaim. In the individual events, he added gold in the 200-meter butterfly and 200-meter individual medley, and contributed to gold in the 4x100-meter freestyle relay. In total, he left Rio with 5 golds and 1 silver, bringing his career Olympic medal count to 28. 23 golds, 3 silvers, 2 bronzes, cementing his status as the most decorated Olympian in history. The headlines shifted from fallen star to a man on a mission fulfilled. The water that had once been a mirror of fear now reflected triumph. Phelps had returned, endured, and closed the final chapter on his own terms.
Here, this one? I started in the sport as a little kid who wanted to do something that nobody had ever done before. You know, for me, being able to retire exactly how I want, that's all I wanted to do. So, you know, looking back at my career, I've had the opportunity to win a couple medals and have a lot of fun. And, you know, it's, I think I can say I was successful at everything that I did in the sport, and I'm looking forward to moving forward.
After Rio, Michael Phelps stepped away from the pool for good. The roar of the crowd, the glare of the cameras, the rhythm of endless laps all faded into memory and closed the chapter on competition. But retirement was not silent. It was a new kind of challenge, learning who he was beyond the medals. Family became his anchor. Marriage to Nicole Johnson and the birth of their children brought joy.
It's just an honor for me to be here with the kids. I mean, the cheerleaders at the front, these kids are so pumped. And it's so, like, for me, I love seeing a true smile on a kid's face. And that's when you'll see the biggest smile in me.
Before we get started, first just want to say congratulations on what has been I'd say a tremendously eventful 6 months. You got married, the birth of your son, very successful Rio Olympic Games, 5 gold medals, a silver. Recently this week, the Laureus Award. So congratulations again on what must be a whirlwind.
Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of months. It's been a fun couple of months. For me, I kind of felt like a dad on the Olympic team for some reason. So for me, this Olympics was a lot more enjoyable because we had so many young rookies on the team that had never been to a major international competition or the Olympics. So for me, I was a lot more open and a lot more approachable than I was in the past. And I think that's what made this Olympic experience so much better. You know, for me, and especially finishing how I wanted to in my career, I think was just the absolute best thing possible for me.
Phelps also embraced a new mission, mental health advocacy. He spoke openly about the depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts that had shadowed him for years. He told the world that seeking help was not a sign of weakness, that therapy saved lives, his own included. The machine, once defined only by medals, now carried a human message: resilience, honesty, and hope. His advocacy helped push for safer training environments, more substantial mental health support, and more rigorous oversight in sports. Mentorship and philanthropy became another dimension in his life. Through the Michael Phelps Foundation, he promoted water safety, swimming education, and youth programs worldwide.
With my foundation growing, I think if you look at the numbers that we have worldwide and in the U.S. of kids drowning, that's got to stop, and it's got to change today. And for us, we've been able to open up schools in every state in the United States.
You should be so proud, Michael. I mean, your career is just like, there are not enough words to describe what you've done. It's incredible. It really is.
His legacy is written not only in 28 Olympic medals and world records, but in inspiration, in every swimmer who dreams of breaking barriers, Every athlete learning that greatness requires both ambition and balance. And in every life, touched by his honesty about struggle and recovery. Phelps didn't just compete in multiple events, he dominated them across strokes, distances, relays, and individual races, often with less than 24 hours between grueling finals. Phelps' achievements, at least medal-wise, may never be surpassed. His combination of talent, longevity, and competitive dominance set a standard that defines what it means to be the greatest Olympian of all time. The water that once mirrored fear now mirrors peace. Michael Phelps is not just the fastest swimmer in history. He is a man who survived, a man who loved, and a man who continues to grow. The story of Michael Phelps is not just about what he won, but what he overcame. Not just the medals he carried, but the life he reclaimed. And in that, his true legacy shines brighter than any gold.
Can I just say one more thing? I'm just happy to be back at the Olympics, to feel this excitement again. Yes, I'm not competing, and I'd like that part. Looking on this side is a lot easier. But just the feelings and the celebrations, the emotions, everything. I mean, like, it's just incredible to feel. So enjoy it. If this is your first games, go to every single thing you can possibly go to. There's nothing better than feeling the Olympic spirit and the Olympic feelings. And if this is your 5th or 10th one, then keep coming, because this is the best event on the planet. Thank you guys so much.